Hello, everyone, and welcome to Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzy, and I'm your host for this evening. Unfortunately, we didn't get the bomber that many of us expected in regards to Arsenal getting the sack, but nonetheless, we can discuss the possibility of seeing a new coach on the touchline in the near future, plus a few transfer news circling and one official news already revealed for next season. So let's start with the talk of Steven Gerrard and Xabi Alonso. So the current rumor is that Liverpool have reportedly made positive contact with Xabi Alonso's representatives, with the Spaniard a leading candidate to take over as head coach in the future. Alonso is admired by the hierarchy at Anfield and would welcome him back to the club. Now, sources also suggest that Steven Gerrard has been offered to return to Liverpool in an interim role if Slot is dismissed, telling the club he'd be willing to help in any capacity to steady the ship. So we spoke about this yesterday, but my thoughts pretty much remain the same. If Xabi Alonso is not available to take on the role at this current stage, then I think the best solution would be to get Steven Gerrard on an interim basis for the rest of the season. And the reason I believe that is because under Arne Slot, we're going through a period where I think most of us fans have lost faith in the coach in terms of the direction, the tactics, the man management, and all the above. And because of that, I feel like we've hit the wall now, and it's time for a change. Now, whether FSG decide to do that or not, in terms of dismissing the current coach, that remains to be seen. A lot of us fans are frustrated and angry, and for me, rightly so. I think it's viable that this is the way we should feel. But the owners will always react based on financial means. So if we are close to a top four finish, for example, I don't think they'll dismiss the coach right now. I think they will be reactive if we are, you know, distant away from achieving European football. That's when they will react, which is not the way how owners should operate. But history will tell you that that has been the case under FSG. So for me, if Alonso has said that, he's wanting to rest right now and will probably look into starting a new role next season, then for me, Steven Gerrard has to come through as soon as possible. And I think it'll be a welcomed appointment personally. I think he will bring that good feel factor back to the club, especially amongst the fans and the people in Liverpool, but also from a football standpoint. I think he'll re-energize the squad. A lot of these players grew up watching Steven Gerrard, as we have as fans. But the age group that we have, they know Steven Gerrard. They watched his success at the club, and with him being a living legend, I feel like that would be a great way to give the club and give the players a bit of a boost. And it might be a well-needed time that we need that boost because, quite frankly, the way we're playing football right now, it's a complete ball fest, and it's not for me, quite frankly. So I feel like a change needs to be made soon. The speculation was that he was going to get sacked today. That never occurred, and that's the main reason why I never got giddy yesterday. Uh, You know, when you hear sources, from certain accounts online, you always have to take it with a pinch of salt. It shouldn't be regarded as gospel or the real information. Just take it as updates rather than it being official news. So I had a feeling that he wouldn't get the sack today, quite frankly. And that's not because I want Arsenal to stay, to set off the record, which I think is obvious, but I feel like I have to allude to that quite a bit whenever I do my shows. If he's survived and till this far, where I feel like he should be sacked in October/November, then it shows me that there is some level of backing from the owners, and I think they will back him until the end of the season. And once the season concludes, that's when they will review his performance and decide what the next step should be going forward. So, you know, I might be wrong, but let's see what happens. Of course, we've got a Champions League tie this week against Karabag, and then we've got Newcastle, and then we've got Man City the following week as well. So, some tough fixtures, especially from a Premier League point of view. And look, if we don't beat Karabag, it doesn't guarantee us that we get that automatic qualification into the next phase of the Champions League. If you're not in the top eight, you're not playing, playing fixtures, unless it's more games where it's not really needed for Liverpool anyway. So let's see what the future holds. But right now, Arsenal is the coach, and fortunately, that's how it's going to look like for the time being. Before we move on, I'm just going to go through some of the comments. Bo says happy 700 subs. I was big up yourself, Bo. Thank you for your comment there. Bo says I literally feel like finals the board hates the fans and they show it time after time. I don't think they hate the fans. They're just thinking about money. Let's not kid ourselves. We need to get vocal more boos at Anfield, fans leaving early, banners, etc. He needs to effing go. Klopp built for so many years just for three nerds to destroy it all. Are you and we happy with six? Of course not. Of course I'm not happy with that. Everton just 3 points behind. Klopp lived and breathed Liverpool. It's not his Liverpool, simple as that. I wouldn't quite say Klopp lived and breathed Liverpool before he came, but of course, once he was appointed as manager, I think that was his official title. Yeah, he embodied what the club represent and was one of the peoples, I guess. So yeah, he was integrated into the club and probably left the club as a scouser, to be fair. But um, everyone's different. We've spoken about this before. Everyone has different personalities. And look, you know, for me, it's all about the football. It's all about the success on the pitch. If someone doesn't embody the culture fully, as long as you're winning the games on the pitch, I feel like that's more important. But at the same time, as Liverpool fans, we have gotten accustomed to having a connection with the coach. We're very different to other clubs. So we hold our head coach slash manager, where we want to give them as job titles, with very high regards. So that's why we're feeling the frustration a little bit more than I would say our fans would in their current situations. But let's see. Well, at this stage, I don't feel like there's a clear indication that this manager will be dismissed anytime soon. Of course, the results will not help. The result of the weekend was absolutely absolutely shocking, but that doesn't determine a manager to get sacked right away. And he's survived worse spells this season alone until he's still here. So for me, that shows that they're not willing to dismiss the coach. Whether that's pride or ego coming from Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards, that's another discussion. But I don't feel like they'll do it personally. And I feel like they'll wait until the end of the season and see where Liverpool are in terms of the position in the league table and if we've progressed in any of the competitions as well. So that will be something that they'll review against at the end of the season. I've never seen a picture of Stock being in Liverpool City. Why is it hard to find the phone number of Michael Edwards and Hugh? Does he? Honest question. Well, if you feel like you can just go onto the internet and find someone's phone number, you've got another thing coming. This ain't the 90s where you can pull out your yellow pages and try and find someone. That's not going to happen. Edwards if in print, living off Jurgen's results. We need to protest. How hard can it be? I'm buying a Carabao shirt because they have a plan for us. I'm on my knees. Yeah, you're desperate for this guy to go. I'm sorry to break it to you. It's not going to happen just like that. And good luck finding Carabao shirt. I don't know how how easy it is to get one of those, but yeah, good luck. Hopefully lose the next 5 games. That should get him sacked. I would never ever want my team to lose 5 games. So for me, I'm not even going to set that tone. I know you're frustrated with the manager and you don't want him at the hot seat. But for me, I would never ever want my team to lose, regardless of who the manager is. Even when it was Roy Hodgson, I wouldn't pray that we lose. Um, for me, that's not how it works. So as a fan, you should support the team through thick and thin. Doesn't matter who the manager is, and even if you don't like certain players, you still support them, right? that's the way we do things. So no, that's not the right way to go. Slot has a prick personality, no more going around. Yeah, he's not everyone's cup of tea, but he's still the Liverpool coach, so we have to respect him until he is dismissed. Ben Jacobs said the club are working on a new contract with Slot soon, a 3-year deal. Is that correct? I haven't seen anything of that motion. Am I happy with that? Well, what do you think? But you think I'm happy about Slot staying for another 3 years? Of course not. That's big up there. Suppose if we lose on Sunday, do you think he goes? I think it heightens the pressure more on him, especially if we weren't to get a result that gave us automatic qualification. I haven't looked at the table, but if we don't obtain that level of progression in the competition, then it because remember when you qualify in certain positions of the Champions League, you are given a huge reward based on where you finish. So if that means that we've finished outside of the top eight and the money is lower than what was planned or what was, on course in terms of obtaining, then that's where alarm bells will be ringing for the owners because they're thinking, hang on, we were supposed to get 50 million, now we've only got 20. Like, where did that 30 million go? So that's when they'll assess the situation. So financially, they're going to look at it from a business standpoint. And if Slot ain't making the money, that's where question marks will be raised even further. So look, for me, it doesn't really matter how the conversation occurs. I just feel like a change needs to be made very, very soon. And look, we've only got 4 days of the windows. Obviously, I've said it for a few weeks, and I'm sure you guys will agree. I didn't feel like we would sign a player this month. I wanted us to sign a sentiment. That was the bare minimum, but that's not going to happen either. So, there will be rumors here and there in regards to players for this current window and maybe talk for summer as well. But as it stands, I feel like we need to sort out the current situation, which is making sure that the club have the right coach in place for next season. And I'm not saying right off this current season. I'm not saying that because I still feel like we need to finish in a respectable position, i.e., finish in the top four/top five. Top four ideally, just because it secures Champions League football. Fifth position isn't guaranteed that we'll obtain qualification for Champions League next season. So finishing in the top four, which I don't think is impossible, but the way we're playing, it doesn't look like much is possible right now. So we need to improve. We just need to get the results. Um, but yeah, if it continues like this, I'll be very surprised if he survives. But at the same time, I'm not surprised if I'm being honest. I feel like as long as we're in touching distance of top four, Slot will still be here until the end of the season. This is what I believe. This I think will happen. It doesn't mean that that's what I want to see happening, if that makes sense. So yeah, we've got some tough fixtures coming up. So yeah, we've got to gather up the points. But right now, a few defeats here and there, but approaching mid-table, and that's not good for anyone right now. And the way the league is, especially from fourth to 11th, there's only like a 6 point gap, which is not a lot. If you're thinking that one or two bad results can literally just put you down the pecking order. So yeah, we've got a lot of work to do. The season's not over. We're still in January. Quite a lot of games to be played. So hopefully we get the results and climb up that table. But I'm doing where we're tasting it slot out. I don't think that's going to get slot out by you buying a Carabao shirt. But yeah, each to their own. Is Wharton on his way? We'll speak about Wharton very, very shortly. Both said Craig from Anfield General started crying on stream today after the news broke from Ben Jacobs that is how much we want him gone. And do you feel the same, Ozzy? Well, I'm not crying on stream. That's not really my persona. That's not my personality. You'll see me get peed off and animated at times. I'm calm, cool, and collected, but I do have emotions as well. So you won't be seeing me crying, that's for sure. But in terms of the frustration, I get the frustration, but guys, you have to realize, football isn't just based on emotions. These clubs are not owned by fans. They're owned by businessmen. So you have to think from their standpoint. They're gonna make decisions based on what makes sense from a business point of view. Are they going to still gain money this season? Are they making a loss? Oh, if we're making a loss, that's when we've got to make some changes. So we have to keep that in mind. And of course, if you've been a fan long enough, you know how the football world works. Especially Liverpool. Let's talk about Liverpool in specific. You know, we do have a history of sacking managers, but it's not been where after 1 year they've been sacked. They've always been given a fair opportunity, whether it's 3, 4, 5, 6 years, whatever the case is. They've always been given time to implement their philosophy into the team. So, that is the culture at our club. So, we don't just dismiss coaches just like that. And that's why I feel like they're going to stick with him until things get really bad. And this next 2, 3 games might be defining in terms of where we stand. Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't think we should get too emotional that this current manager or current coach is still here. You have to face reality. That is the current situation right now. So yeah. Both, are you 100% we get top 4, Z? I'm not 100%, but I'm more hopeful, if I'm being honest. I can't be confident based on how we play. I've criticized the level of play, the manager's tactics, and all that sort of stuff. I can't say I'm confident. I would only say confident because it's my team, and I expect my team to be in the top 4. But am I 100% confident we get top 4? I'm not. I'm really not. Um, then why would you want us to engage if that keeps Slot here? I don't care if Slot stays here or not. I want my team to progress. I want my team to qualify for the Champions League. Whether Slot's here or not, that is the main objective. That is the goal for the season, to make sure we don't make any mistakes or we don't hinder ourselves going forward. Because if we don't qualify for Champions League football, rest assured, we are in the mud. We are all that all that hard work Klopp gave to us over the years, it's gone in the bin. I tell you that for free, it will go in the bin. So right now, all I care about is my team finishing in a respectable position, which is top 4, and then we'll take it from there. And I'm not saying this is the man that will take us forward either. If he's able to get us the results, keep him on board. But I'm not saying that's what I want. That's what I think they will do. But look, if we lose to Bank and we lose to Newcastle and we lose to Man City, you would expect an interim manager to be appointed. Just looking at what's happening across the world in terms of where Liverpool based at Manchester. They've got Michael Carrick in. They've brought in someone that knows the club, knows the fans, knows the expectations of playing for Manchester United. And 2 games, he's beaten Arsenal and Man City. He's brought that good feel factor. That's what I've been talking about for weeks and months. And the thing is, I'm not saying Gerrard is the long-term successor of Arne Slot, but what we could do with him right now could really turn it around in terms of our season. It'll just give us that boost that we need. Because right now, everything's flat with this team, whether it's on the pitch or off the pitch, nothing's working. Like we're a shadow of ourselves from last season. So that's my issue there. But look, the owners are always going to look at it from a results point of view and also financially. Where do Liverpool stand? Are we 6? Oh, how far are we? You're only a few points away. Okay, fine. That would mean that we can still finish in the top 4. Because quite frankly, the teams around the top 4, they haven't been great. No one is dominating, their current role in the league. Even Arsenal, they've shown some cracks in recent weeks. And this is the time, especially Feb, March, is when they normally, they fold and they drop a lot of points. And this is the time where Man City strengthen and they go head to head with whoever's at the top. So, the league title is not concluded, and neither is the top 4. So there's a lot of work for every team to do. And Liverpool are no different. If this coach remains and gets the backing from owners, doesn't matter what we say. Of course, we as fans, we're entitled to express our views and express our frustrations, but we also have to speak about the reality, which is I don't think he'll get dismissed. I think he'll stay until the end of the season. Is that what I want? Absolutely not. But unfortunately, I'm not the one that holds the keys. And the business is not to get Champions League money, Ozzy? Please explain that is good business. Would love to know. When did I say not getting Champions League is good business? You have to listen to what I'm saying to you. If we don't get Champions League football, then we are in the mud. I don't know how clearly I can say that out loud. We are in and around top four right now. We're not 12th, we're not 15th, we're not 17th like United and Tottenham were last season. We are still in and around a top four finish. We are in January, we've just gone past, the midpoint of the season. There's still a lot of games to play. So that is still an achievable target, even with Arne Slot. But the thing is, things are not improving under Arne Slot. And that's why I believe that if Alonso is not available right now, get Steven Gerrard through the door on an interim basis, and then we can revisit the situation there. And I'm not saying Steven Gerrard even guarantees us a top finish. He might come in and might not be able to deliver that either. So what are we going to say about Gerrard in that regards? What the perception will be that, oh, we should have kept Slot. Why did we go for Gerrard? He's not ready to be Liverpool manager. The narrative might change later on. So be careful what you wish for. For me, I feel like this team just needs a boost. And I feel like they just need someone with a new direction, a new perspective, and fresh eyes or fresh ideas on the pitch. So that's what makes sense to me. So I've never once said that if we don't get Champions League, it's good business. So you've got to listen to what I'm saying because I don't feel like you're listening properly. Dan says 1 to 8 rounds of 16, 9 to 1. Yeah, exactly. And I don't think the club need to be in that knockout stage because that's just more added fixtures to already a congested fixture list for us. And yeah, quite frankly, we're not good enough to be playing all of these extra games, in my opinion. So yeah, this is how I feel. There are some rumours that Scott is doing an interview with the Sun next week. Is that good from a local manager, Ozzy? There are rumours. So until I don't see it, I'm not really going to have an opinion. He should know better not to do an interview with the Sun. Um, but there are rumours. You said to me yesterday he was going to get sacked today. Those rumours didn't come to reality, did they? So rumours will always be rumours. Remember that. That said, do you know Ibu's back on Wednesday? I don't know. I haven't heard anything about Ibu. Um, Personally, I don't think we should rush him back. And I know it was going to be, oh, come on, we need him. Look, he lost his father, may he rest in peace. But this is a difficult time for him and his family. So he needs to look out for himself more than anything else. As much as we love football, it's a job. It's a job for these players. So he needs to look out for himself in terms of his mental health. And when he feels that he's ready to come in, that's the time to bring him on board. But as a fan, football is more than result. It's moments, it's connection, it's love. We need to understand that, Ozzy. Yes, but fans are not running the football club. So they're going to think from a football point of view. As fans, of course, we're the one that pay the top dollar to go to matches and buy the shirts and the merchandise. Of course, and of course, we're the audience. We're the entertainment. This is why they play football, of course. But remember, football is a business now. So if it doesn't make sense, they're not going to go ahead with it. So right now, if we're close to obtaining Champions League qualification from our league position, I think they'll stick with the manager. But look, whether you like it or not, pride and ego is a thing in business. You can't sack a manager who's just won the league straight away into your next season. That's what they're probably thinking deep down. And if they were to get top four finish, they would probably say, you know what, not a bad season, difficult start, but like they'll sugarcoat it. And for me, I feel like that's not the right way to go because this coach has been absolutely terrible. He's been absolutely terrible. But at this stage, if there's no indication that he will get dismissed, we just have to hold tight and see what happens. And if we don't get Champions League football, this is on Michael Idris, this is on Richard Hughes because they should have made that decision. They should have, had the balls to be cutthroat and dismiss the coach in October. Okay, maybe not October, November definitely. After that Forest game, he should have been long gone. And he's still here. So that's why these directors and CEO of football they pay the big bucks to make these decisions. And if you fail to do it, unfortunately, it's not the slot that's going to go. I feel like those two need to be dismissed as well. That's how deep it is if we don't get Champions League football. So This is not just me pinpointing one person. It's a collective issue there. If we don't get Champions League football, even as a coach myself, football is more than results. Even for me, that's fair. But I'm talking about from a bigger picture, from their perspective as well as ours. I can't just speak one-sided. I have to look at it from all angles, and as I need to understand why it's not still here. I'm not going to go based on emotions. I'm going to go through logic and process it in that way. And I'm seeing it from their point of view. They're thinking, look, we're in the top four. So why not? Why should we dismiss our Premier League winning coach? Why should we do that? That's the way they're going to look at it. So make of that what you will. You said the club is thinking business, no emotion, and keeping stock makes us not getting top four. So how's that good business? There's no guarantee to suggest that Slot won't get top four. I don't have the confidence in him, which should paint a picture for you that I don't have trust in this coach at all. But if you look at numbers, if you look at the league table, top four is still within range. It's still an achievable target. And that's how they're going to look at it. If they were to make a change right now and bring in Steven Gerrard, does Steven Gerrard guarantee you a top four finish? If you think he does, then obviously the club should do it right now. But they might not believe he has the credentials to give us a top four finish. So that's why they're being a bit hesitant. Now, Alonso is a different discussion because I feel like, and that's no disrespect for Steven Gerrard, I feel like Alonso has done more in his managerial career to suggest that he could turn this around. He's done that Leverkusen where when he joined them, they were all over the place. They finished in a decent position. I think they were near the Champions League spot. And then the following season, he completely changed the shape and they went unbeatable in that season and won the treble. So he's shown his credentials as a coach. With Gerrard, there's still uncertainty. I know he did a great job at Rangers, but until Aston Villa and Antifag, I think it is, yes, Antifag, it didn't go to plan. So even appointing Gerrard as an interim is still a slight risk. And these owners have shown me that they don't take huge risks. It's more calculated or reactive based on what they had planned for the future. That's the way they move. They're not big risk takers. So you have to analyze the situation. You have to analyze how our owners operate and what are their behaviors, what are their traits in terms of operating or making football decisions. There's a track record here, so we can see what they've done over the years. We are fourth. Are we fourth? I thought we were sixth. I think you need to check the table. We're currently sixth. Manchester United won yesterday, so we've dropped to sixth place. We're not fourth anymore. We've got 36 points, United 38 points. They're in fourth place. And Chelsea are above us because they won and beat Crystal Palace 3-1 on the weekend as well. So no, we're not fourth right now. Boss, I would never ever complain about Gerrard, Ozzy. So if Gerrard doesn't give you top four, you wouldn't complain. Fair enough. If it showed that he cared, I wouldn't want him even with this performance, simple as that. But what makes you feel like he doesn't care? In terms of about the club, he's not emotionally attached to the club. We are, we're fans. We're 100% emotionally attached. This is a job. I hate to break it down like this, but this is a job for him. And this is probably the best job he's ever going to get. So he's going to sugarcoat it in press conferences, saying we're undefeated in 12 and all this nonsense. We know the real picture. We know we've been shocking. That's probably the worst winning streak we've ever had in our club history. But on paper, we haven't lost. So that's a positive because we lost 9 in 12 a few months ago. So that's a drastic improvement if you look at it in that regards. As fans, we know the performances haven't improved. We've had good results here and there, but I feel like those results have favored us because those teams have, played to our strengths. They've tried to play, quote unquote, like neat football in comparison to physical, a long ball, a long blocks, however Arsenal wants to describe it. So for me, we have to look at the bigger picture. And I'm not saying stick with the coach. So like if you're not hearing me, you're not hearing me. That's not what I'm saying. But at the same time, I have to present what I see. And I don't see the club making a drastic reaction. If we lose to Caravan, and drop out of the automatic qualification, which is the top 8, that could have some repercussions for him because we would have lost out on a big financial bracket there. With every position you earn a certain amount of money. So let's see. He's built his own downfall. Doing the Eagles. Yeah, the Eagles, possibly. Do you think Fulham gets top four as they are also very close to top four? Why not? Just because they're not traditionally a top 14 doesn't mean they can't get top four. I'm not even trying to take the piss there. There's a lot of teams that can get the top four. Aston Villa are in third place. I'm expecting them to stay there, if I'm being honest with you. So why should we feel like teams like Fulham don't deserve to be there? I'm not saying they will finish top four, by the way, but you're making the assumption that, oh, they shouldn't be there. But the thing is, if they perform better than us, numbers don't lie. The league table doesn't lie. They deserve to be where they are. To right now, we're not playing like we should be in the top four. We're not. Just because of Liverpool, I'm not here. I'm not a privileged fan. I've gone through the ups and downs as a Liverpool fan. You know, Hodgson era still gives me nightmares until this day. But this era is not too far off from the Hodgson era. The only difference is that we've got better players in our squad. Hodgson was dealing with Jovanovic, Paulsons, and all these kind of players. So it's a different kind of fish. B class doesn't mean you're gonna get it. That's true, but you're around it though, right? You're close enough to achieve your target. If you're away from your target, then that becomes a problem, isn't it? So because you're close to it and you've been in and around, fourth, fifth, this season, that's what they're going to look towards. So the season doesn't end next week. There's a long, long way ahead. So it will be based on what we're doing, from a results point of view. That's literally how it is. Cook was emotionally connected to Ozzy. That's his personality. He wasn't emotionally connected to Liverpool before he joined. Of course, he had admiration for the club, but of course, when you are a football fan, you educate yourself, you understand the different cultures and different sort of clubs all over the world in terms of what they bring to the table. But of course, when you're in the hot seat, you can't help but being connected. So yeah, but that's because of his personality. He's a very passionate individual, and he wears his heart on his sleeve. Not everyone is a young Klopp, so let's not forget that. Let's not think just because you're taking over from Jurgen Klopp, you got to be a carbon copy. That's not on the slot, and there aren't many managers like that either. So we got to stop thinking that this is all like sort of robotic and people can just turn into or morph into a persona that they're not. And I'm not defending Slot here. I feel like people are going to see this as me defending him, but his personality is very clear. He's very simple, very dry. When I find him, kind of boring at times. But I'm saying that's his personality. We weren't complaining that much last year when we were winning the league title, though, right? So as Liverpool, not Liverpool, as football fans, we can be hypocrites. There's no way around that. But when it's going bad, of course, then you start analyzing even further. But so you can see he was upset. You can see he was happy. Starting as neutral all the effing time. That's his personality. What do you want me to say? You can't change my personality, and I can't change your personality. This is the way we are, right? Of course, if someone's a bit of an introvert, they're gonna be a certain way, and if you want to try and breed a bit of confidence, you give them some wise words. But everyone has their own traits, and that's his trait. You can't fault him for that. I don't feel like he should be looked at because he doesn't meet the requirements of having a personality similar to Jurgen Klopp. That's not him. Now, if that's what the club wanted, they've appointed the wrong person then, haven't they? I don't think that was the criteria. I think the criteria was finding a coach that can implement a similar style of play and take his team forward. That was the plan, not to find a carbon copy of Jurgen Klopp in terms of personality and how he carries himself on the pitch, off the pitch, and in the press conferences. I don't think that was part of it. Exactly. So why are you so certain Liverpool get top four then, Ozzy? And when did I say I'm certain? Rewind. Rewind this episode later on. And I said that that I'm not confident about this coach getting top four, but I want us to get top four. Does that make sense? I'm not confident with Arne Slot, but because we're around it, I'm hoping we can get it. That's me being hopeful. That's not me being confident. I'm not confident with this current coach. So you've got to understand what I'm saying. Maybe I'm speaking a different language. I don't know. But I never said I'm confident about getting top four. I'm hopeful that we get top four because we have the quality in the squad. I'm not because I don't rate this coach. Now, if Gerrard came, you would expect it to give us a bit of a boost, like it did with Carrick and Manchester United. I don't know if that's going to happen. So we'll just have to wait and see. Fulham, Brentford, Everton, Newcastle are all better than Liverpool these days. Putting add a few more names to that list. There's a lot of teams better than us. What do you want me to say to that? It's a fact. I'm not gonna deny that. All those could get top four as well. Of course they can. Of course they can. I'm not saying we are above everyone else. We are not privileged. Yeah, we can't act like we're privileged just because we're Liverpool Football Club. You've got to earn your stripes. And we've been terrible this season. Matthew said, big up, Matthew. Appreciate your comment. Thank you for tuning in. I'm not asking Scott to love the club when from birth. I'm saying be captive when you're here. Maybe that's not his personality. Maybe he doesn't, have passion for his job like that. Are you telling me that if you work 9 to 5, you're gonna be passionate about your job outside of work? No, it's a job. It's a job. So when the touch is 5 o'clock, I'm at the office. That's how a lot of people see their jobs. It's to make a living. Of course, a lot, is in a very privileged position being a local coach. But he might not have that connection with the club. And that's his own doing where, maybe he's not involved in sort of the outside activities that the club do, like, the charities, all of to be fair, I don't really follow the journey of a coach. Of course, the young club is a bit more out there because the local channel will show you that sort of stuff. But at this stage, I'm all about the football. I don't really, dive too much in to a coach's personal life or the way they carry themselves. For me, coach my team. You've been hired as a first team coach. Coach my team to play the best football and to challenge for titles. That's all I care about, quite frankly. Matthew says Slot is opposite to Klopp. He doesn't do hugs. He's there to be professional, not to be popular. I agree with that, Matthew. I think that is literally his persona. And look, you can't fault it. Everyone is different. So we have to respect that as well. Conte was jumping when he was at Chelsea into Spurs, Napoli. He didn't support all those teams from birth. You've used one of the. So is everyone Antonio Conte? Because he was eccentric. He's an eccentric character. And there's a reason why he's not like these looks. Because of his personality. He clashes with the hierarchy. So I don't want that type of coach at my club. Because for me, that's slightly toxic in terms of how they carry themselves. We're supposed to be the leader of a group. But if you're huffing and puffing and going ballistic on the touchline, I don't want that. I don't need that kind of entertainment. It looks good from certain standpoints, but not everyone is your club. Not everyone's a Conte. And I don't think everyone wants a Conte at that club. Let's be honest about that. I was complaining on stock last year as well. Do you not be afraid of that? Well, I don't think you were following the channel at the time, so I can't really agree or disagree with that. But if that's the case, that's fair. I think it's fair. Do you feel we have a bigger chance getting top four over Brentford, Aussie? Think, not hope. Um, no, they're playing better football than us. So no. But the thing is that we had the better squad. So in theory, we should be gathering the points and we should be climbing up the table. The difference with Brentford is that they're playing a good brand of football, or to their sort of extent anyway. But they're not built for top four time. So if they have one or two injuries, then that's when they have an issue, right? So we have a full-fledged squad, although we do have a lot of injuries. But even with those injuries, we still have a very talented group of players. So In theory, we should be challenging a top four. We should have a better chance than Brentford. Yes, we should on paper, but football isn't based on paper. So right now, you asked me earlier on, am I confident? I'm not confident. Now, if you ask me who's going to get top four, top five, it's a bit hard to tell. I feel like teams like Man City, Arsenal, Villa, Chelsea United have shown phases that they can be quite hit and miss as well. But those two teams can easily qualify. So we're not even talking about the Fulhams and the Brentfords. That's five teams I've just named you without Liverpool. That could be the top five. We could finish sixth where we currently are right now as it stands. There's nothing to say that that can't be a possibility. It could happen. And my God, if that happens, we are in big trouble going forward. Look at Emery, he gets called out for being animated, Slot gets paid for the business he does. That's the thing. Some people like that kind of character on the touchline, some people don't. So it is. I always feel like if you back up results, then it doesn't make a huge difference. That's the way I look at it. So yeah, everyone's different. Then Liverpool is not a job for Slot. Liverpool is passionate, not dull. But who appointed him as the Liverpool coach? It wasn't us. It wasn't the people of Liverpool. It was Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards. So they have to be blamed for that as well. Slot was partying with a criminal in Winnick. I don't like that. Looking back, of course, that wasn't the right move for him to go to Ibiza. Um, with I think about 6 weeks still left in the Premier League season. You know, time, it doesn't matter. We won the league, but looking back, I think that was such a terrible move because it makes us look so unprofessional. Um, but yeah, probably less said the better about that one. Um, Matthew says, I represent the club, the badge, the top. I admired with what he did, but I never loved him like most fans love Arteta. I don't know why fans love Arteta, to be fair, but no, I hear you. In terms of um your sentiment, and like for me, hmm, Klopp, I think by far is my favorite manager of Liverpool. By far, I feel like what he embodied. I just love everything about him. So, for me personally, I love Jurgen Klopp as a coach, and I was quite sad when he made a decision to leave the club. But at the same time, when someone goes, you have to turn the page and another player has to come in and take the mantle. No, w- I said at the time as well. I wasn't expecting Liverpool to find another Jurgen Klopp or a carbon copy because he's unique. He's one of one, in my opinion. So because of that, it was always going to be a difficult task. And fair play to Slot, he gave us the league title, but you don't feel like he implemented his way of playing, and because of that, he just the carried on in terms of carrying the torch and pretty much played football for the remainder of the season. But now I feel like he's been found out. He's trying to implement his style of play where I don't think he's read the room. I don't think he realizes that the Premier League is not a technical playing field anymore. It's become more physical. It's more about set pieces now. And when you don't analyze the way the league is going at, that's a problem right there. Because our recruitment probably would have been completely different if they had known that. So yeah, errors have been made. Like, look, I'll tell you what. In terms of the summer, I thought we made some good signings. I was very happy with the summer recruits. And funny enough, the players that we signed this summer, they actually are currently our best players in the squad. So you have to look at it that way where they have actually helped us, in recent weeks. But at the same time, the tactics haven't been correct from Arne Slot. And that's my frustration. We had a game plan against Marseille. We did really well. And then we completely changed the script against Bournemouth. Got to keep it consistent. And it doesn't do that, unfortunately. Uh, I never do love Enzo Fernandez. I still have respect Klopp, but I was some people a bit emotional, yes, but what we achieved, we move on. It's fair enough. I don't really feel like that's a bad opinion there. Everyone's entitled to feel how they are, and as I mentioned earlier on, football is a business. So I'm sure we've had, when we were young fans, we had favorite players and they ended up leaving. So there's more than football than your current club. Life goes on. So if you're not attached to the coach or certain players, that's fair because history will tell you that managers and players aren't always the loyal, as well as clubs. Clubs aren't loyal to managers and players as well. So it works both ways. Just say what he would do whatever to cause Liverpool would start do the same. You're using two bad examples here. Gerrard is a former player. He's from Liverpool. He's a Scouser. Liverpool means everything to him. Start with a Dutchman who never played for Liverpool, in his career. Different, different comparison there. So you've got to think from a logical point of view rather than emotion. You're thinking emotionally right here. And Gerrard will of course do whatever Liverpool wants. At this stage, he's not a manager at the club, so he's free. So he's thinking, if I can help in any shape or form, I'm here. I'm here to help my club. He'll be willing to take an interim role. But would other managers take an interim role? Probably not. Michael Carrick took an interim role because he wasn't doing well either. So, or should I say, he wasn't in employment at the time. So you got to look at the situation to the what's occurred. Let's move on and talk about some transfer rumors. I know we're not going to make any moves, but let's just talk about it anyway. So the current rumor is that Liverpool are reportedly closing in on a move for Crystal Palace midfielder Adam Wharton. The player has already given his green light to join the Reds and is open to signing a 5-year contract at Anfield. So my thoughts on that, I don't think there's any truth to it personally. Although I will say this, I do think Adam Wharton is definitely on the top of our shortlist for midfield signings this summer. Um, I'm sure they're having private discussions behind the scenes, but I don't think anything to suggest that it's a foregone conclusion. Um, but what I do know, Adam Wharton, that there has been speculation in the past year that he would like to move back to the north of England because that's where he's from. He's from Blackburn, so maybe he wants to be closer to home, and a move to Liverpool would make the most sense in that regards. Um, do I like Adam Wharton as a player? I absolutely do. I think he's a fantastic player. But I don't know if he's the player that should be prioritized. I feel like we need a proper number six first and foremost. That is the type of profile we need in the team. That's what we're missing. We have players like Wharton, probably not as good technically, but I feel like in terms of passing wise, Wharton is very very special. But we don't have a number six in our team, and I don't know what the budget will be in the summer. So I feel like Liverpool need to prioritize what areas need to be strengthened, and we need to sign a proper number six, a bona fide number six to play alongside Rauenberg, Szoboszlai, McAllister, Jones, whoever's there. We need a type of player. We need that protection for the big four. So it needs to be done as soon as possible, in my opinion. So I like Wharton, but if it was Wharton and another DM, then I'm all for it. But let's see what the future holds. Excuse me. Now, another player that we've been linked with, we've been linked to him before in the past, but there's been a bit more noise in recent weeks, and that is Givairo Reid. Now, the Liverpool target is also very high on Bayern Munich's shortlist ahead of next summer. German Giants are focusing on contract renewals this month, potentially making a move for the final right back, who of course has previously worked for Arne Slot. Robert Van Persie, who's the current manager of Finance, said that Givairo plays like he's in the first team for years. His decision making and leadership are exceptional for his age. So I think I've mentioned this on air before, but I think Liverpool need to go big again. And I'm not saying big in terms of money being spent. I'm saying big in terms of signing 6 or 7 players this summer. And that's not me just being a giddy football fan and playing fantasy football and buying all these players left, right, and centre. We need to sign a lot of players. A few players will be departing; they need to be replaced. And there's been a couple of positions that we haven't addressed, i.e., centre back and left wing, for example, and centre mid as well. I'll add to that. So for me, one thing that I mentioned previously is that as much as I like Conor Bradley, the defender, and I like Frimpong's attacking instincts coming from a right position, I feel like we need to add another profile to our team. So I believe we do need to sign another right back, and I don't think we need to go big. I think Givairo would be the perfect profile, and the reason I say that is because when he comes into the club, there's not going to be huge pressure that he needs to deliver right away. If he was to be signed, if he was signed last summer, it would have been huge pressure because he's supposed to be Trent's successor, right? This time around, he can come in, he'll be playing or he'll be in competition with Bradley, Frimpong. And the beauty about that situation is that Frimpong could be utilised as a right winger. So if you were to put players on paper, Frimpong could be a backup for the right winger, and then we've got Conor Bradley and Givairo Reid challenging for that right spot. So that's the way I'm envisioning it. So I think it would be a good opportunity to sign Givairo Reid because he's probably the most sought out fullback in Europe right now. So I feel like we need to get ahead of the curve and try and get him on board. So I watched him last season. I remember watching the Champions League game for Feyenoord and AC Milan, and he kept uh, Rafael Leao quiet in that game. So yeah, he's definitely a talented player. And since we were linked to him last year, I've been keeping an eye on him. So for me, he's got fantastic talent. He's very much the modern fullback, very well balanced, really good defending, but attacking wise, he's got fantastic crossing ability. And that's something I feel like we've lacked on the flanks this season as well. So for me, if you were to ask me who's your first choice right back, I'm going to go for Givairo. I think that's the guy we should try and sign um, this coming summer. I just got a few comments here. Let's see. How can you say that you understand the club's logic by keeping Ozzy? By keeping Ozzy, what do you mean? Give me some reasons why. How can you say that you understand the club's logic? I don't understand what you're saying there. Come on, we need one centre back, one attacker, maybe one midfielder. So you feel like we only need 3 players to add to the squad? Okay, that is your opinion. If Salah goes, do we not sign a Salah replacement? Do you think Rio is ready to be the first choice left winger next season? 'Cause I despise Gakpo. I don't think he should be. Of course, he's going to get my support as a Liverpool player, but I don't want to see him on the first choice left back. Sorry, left winger. And Robertson will potentially leave in the summer. So do we not need another left back as well? Konate might be leaving as he's not signed the contract yet. Do we not need to replace him? Leone might not be available until the end of the year. Do we not need to add further quality in our squad? Joe Gomez is injury prone. Colin Bradley's injury prone. Frimpong's had his fair share of injuries this season as well. We've need to play Szoboszlai Jones at right back. There's a lot of areas to strengthen. Whether you disagree with me or not, that's the way I'm looking at it. And I don't feel like we have the numbers in the squad. Salah's not going there with Alonso here. Possibly. I would love for Salah to stay for another season. I don't actually want him to go. That's my personal choice because I've loved what Salah's done for us over the years, and I feel like he deserves to be given a send off, just like Robertson does. End of the season, if he doesn't sign a new contract. So for me, um, I feel like we've got players that are on the last year of their contract, so we need to be smart, in my opinion, in terms of the recruitment, rather than waiting for them to leave and then make signings into the next summer. So in 2027, I think it would be more wise to sign those players now and allow them to work with the likes of Van Dijk and the Salahs and treat them as mentors. Be a sponge. Suck up as much information as possible. So when those 2 players depart, we've got ready-made replacements already because they've had a year to settle in and learn from the best. So that's the way I would do. That's future-proofing the club. I feel like if you were to neglect that situation and sign their replacements next summer. As when I say replacement, I'm talking about Van Dijk and Salah. Are you telling me the expectations aren't going to be high? Of course they are. Of course, if there's a certain player that's not available this year, that's over a high level, and then we can get him next year, that's a different conversation. But I feel like if you can try and get someone a year early, it makes perfect sense. And then next summer, we don't have to go big. We've already got the replacements there and then. So that's how I would look at it personally. But our clubs will show you that's what works for them. So this is not just me having an ideology. History will tell you that's how normally clubs operate. We have an academy of extremely talented players. We do have an academy of extremely talented players, but they are not ready, bro. You can't just throw 16, 17-year-olds in the first team thinking they're going to be the next big thing. It doesn't work like that. Football is a mental game as well. If they're not mentally ready, then you can't just throw them in the mix. I don't want Liverpool players to play a few first team games and then they have a poor run of form and you completely shatter their confidence going forward. It's happened before. I've seen it in local colours. So this is not just me painting a picture here. I've seen it unfortunately. I've seen players being tagged as the next big thing and it hasn't worked out. So we've got to be careful in terms of how you manage these young players. And I want them to have the best careers. I want so many of these young players to be given a chance to play for Liverpool. Growing up, I'm sure everyone will relate when you were playing football, whether it was five-a-side or 11-a-side, Sunday league, whatever you were playing, you always had dreams of becoming a footballer, right? I'm sure everyone will agree to that. So these players are very fortunate and they are in that kind of situation. But unfortunately, life doesn't always go that way, where you can be a Liverpool player. You have to be, very special to be a Liverpool player, in my opinion. And some of these players don't make it. So, if these players don't make it, it's our duty to make sure that they still have a good career afterwards. So we have to manage them carefully. We can't just put all of this weight and expectations, especially during a time where we're dreadful, actually dreadful right now. So for me, you have to be careful to how you manage these young players. Robert Koscielny to Swindler Darcy. Yeah, we'll speak on Robert. I've got him lined up so we can talk about him. Roma in talks with a left back. Drop a name. Who's the left back that they're looking at? I haven't seen any names today, so if you've got a name, that would be quite useful. Bo says Klopp played 4-5 teenagers in a FA Cup final, though. You mean the Carabao Cup final? Yeah, because we were in a situation where we didn't have squad players. We needed to get those. We needed numbers, quite frankly, and fair play to them. They all did a magnificent job in that final. And even in the season where we needed them, they came in. But this is the difference between Klopp and Slot. Klopp will give those young players so much confidence that they know if they play and if they make a mistake, nothing's going to happen. They're not going to feel the consequence because their manager, their gaffer in the Klopp, he's not going to throw them under the bus. Unfortunately, from current coach, you're pushing the narrative to give the Italian players a chance. I don't trust these young players on the slot, quite frankly. Alonso, that's another discussion. Gerrard, that's another discussion there because they know what it's about in terms of youth setup. Alonso was managing the Royal Sociedad youth team. Gerrard did the Liverpool team after he retired as well. So they know what it's about. But this coach, I don't feel like embodies that. So I wouldn't trust him with youth players, quite frankly, number one. And number two, with Jurgen Klopp, he always took the pressure away from those young players. And he always took full responsibility. So for me, it's a different profile, different personality in terms of our current coach. And if someone doesn't have faith in young players, you can't change that philosophy. That is just the way they are. Jose Mourinho, as much as I rate him as a manager, he wasn't all about, you know, developing young players. His job was to get results and win cups and win silverware. And that's what he did. He wasn't there to be a youth developmental coach. If that was the case, he would have been a youth coach. But he wanted to be the main man at the club to take the club forward and win silverware and bring the glory to the club. So it's different personas for different jobs. So yeah, Klopp did that, but it wasn't, oh, I've got 5 young players, let me bring them through. We were in a situation we didn't have a lot of players. We were going through a bit of an injury crisis, and that's why it happened, to be fair. and Slot can't name one academy player on the bench, rather two goalkeepers. We spoke about it yesterday, and I do agree. I feel I'd rather see a young player uh, be on the bench rather than a goalkeeper. Because I feel like even if that young player is sitting on the bench, he's taking in the atmosphere of Anfield, a fully sold out crowd, and maybe him just watching the game as well, he'll understand and learn something that he probably wouldn't have if he wasn't on the touchline. So I agree. I don't really have a disagreement with that. Mm, That's what's not. I can't really explain it. You're gonna have to start that question there. Monofov from Wolves. I've never heard of him, so I have no idea who that is. That's why we need a new manager. You deserve minutes. I wanna just appoint a new manager to promote the youth. I want to have a new manager because I want my team to win. Simple as that. Of course, bringing players through the youth academy is a huge bonus, but that's not the reason why I would appoint a certain coach. But the plus point is that Alonso and Gerrard will definitely give those young players an opportunity. So, you know, we're on the same page, but you're looking at different angles. I don't want the youth players to be used by Slot because I think he'll ruin them as well at the same time. So make of that what you will. Okay, moving on. Sorry to bring this guy's face up on screen, but we have to briefly talk about him. So we all know he's not having the best of times at his current club, and Man City are monitoring his situation uh, amid uncertainty over his future at Real Madrid. So don't shoot the messenger. I'm trying to play devil's advocate here. I'm going to ask you guys a question. Would anyone take him back to Liverpool next season? So if you're watching live, feel free to drop a comment. Even if you're watching this on replay, feel free to drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think. My answer simply is no. For me, um, I'm big on loyalty and respect, and the way he treated the club and the way he engineered that move to Real Madrid for me does not bode well. So that's not even an option now. He didn't really leave the club with our blessings, in my opinion. He did it in a very sly way. He was doing Duolingo courses for 6 months before he joined Real Madrid. So he really knew what he was doing. So for me, this is my pride and ego talking here. I would have taken him on board. I simply wouldn't. I just don't feel like he deserves to return to the club the way he treated us. And quite frankly, I don't really care what he does for his career onwards. So, which is strange because we were in full support when he was a Liverpool player. But you disrespect us in that way, you're gonna get the same treatment. So for me, yeah, not even a viable option. But I'll let you guys decide what you would do in that situation. Um, Wilson Kwanzaa would be starting now with Klopp. Oh, he would definitely be starting a lot of games. And yeah, Slot mistreated him as well. I do agree with that. But I just don't get the impression that he knows how to empower youth players. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely incorrect there, but I just don't see it. He was literally building a new super team with Clark, Dans, McConnell, Ponza. Imagine. I disagree. He was not building a super team with those players. Although a lot of those players you mentioned are very talented, they were not going to be a super team. So let's not go overboard there. Bobby Clark was good, but I didn't see him having a long term future at the club just due to the level of competition at the club. Plans, I think, would have been a player that would have been utilized. I felt like the best move for him would have been a loan move to Championship side, which we end up doing. He ended up moving to Sunderland, but he's been hampered with so many injuries. Unfortunately, it's really hampered his development, and it's pretty much been stop start since that period of time. So a couple of years ago now. We were in, literally 2024. So his career hasn't really progressed the way he wanted or he envisioned. To be fair, McConnell I really like. I believe he's at the club. Correct me if I'm wrong now, because Ajax cut his loan spell short. So he would be a viable option, but I don't see him being a starter. I see him being more of a squad player, which I'm on board with. I don't mind it because I feel like he'll give us a bit of quality, especially during top games or when we need to rotate the squad. And Kwanzaa, I feel like Kwanzaa just needed regular game time. um, which is getting out by Leverkusen. But the door's not shut on Konza. Konza may return in the near future. Unfortunately, off the field issues didn't help in regards to his position at the club. But in terms of building a super team, no, I disagree. Those were not generational talents listed there. They were good players with potential, but nothing more than that, in my opinion. Um, so let's speak about our current player, which is Federico Chiesa. Now, apparently, same teams that have been linked to him. Juventus are stepping up their search for a new forward and are focusing on signing the likes of Joshua Zirkzee from United and Federico Chiesa. So, question is, will Chiesa be sold in this current window? I don't think he will. I don't think he should be because I feel like we still need him in the squad. But because Arsenal barely uses him, um, if he was to go, I quite frankly wouldn't blame him because he needs to look out for himself. He needs to get some game time in order to be selected for the Italian national team in the World Cup this coming summer. So I wouldn't blame him if he wanted to go. You know, he's getting mistreated severely at the club, and quite frankly, he's not even had much of a role for us this season when he has been fit, and I feel like Slot just does not respect him at all. So if he wants to go, I don't think we'll hold any grudges on him. Uh, but I selfishly I'd want him to stay just so we have the numbers in terms of achieving targets, which is the top four. Whether we get or not is another discussion. Um, and then I think the summertime will be the time where maybe we'll part ways with the player. But that puts him in a bit of a pickle because he might not get so much game time that, you know, it may hinder his chance of going to the World Cup. So let's see. Let's see how Juventus are into how serious this interest is. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if they came in with a loan deal and we accepted it. I wouldn't be surprised by that. But selfishly, I don't want it to happen. I'd want him to stay just so we have another attacking option off the bench. But let's see what the future holds for Gigo Chiesa. Hmm. So Robertson. So the current news is that the deal is off. Um, well, this was yesterday. Bowles seems to have given us a different update. So the report that I saw was that he looks to be staying at the club because Roma weren't able to sign a replacement. So let's see what happens because of course with Roma potentially not parting with cutting the loan spell short with Simicaz, he would return to Liverpool and therefore allow Robertson to make the move. I feel like Robertson just should stay at the club. I don't think he should be sold in this current window. And I think he deserves a nice send off at the end of the season, with this being his last few months of his current contract. So I hope he stays, but we might get some updates in the coming days. So let's see what happens. Now, moving on, and this is some official news. Liverpool agree a deal in principle to sign FNE Ndukwe from Austria Vienna. The club confirmed today. Um, the player will be joining the club next season. So the picture I have on screen is not AI. This is an actual picture of him signing his contract today with his family. So personally, congrats to the player. It's a big move for him joining a club like Liverpool. And in the pictures, you can see his family were overjoyed about uh, new chapter in his life. So yeah, so obviously from a personal point of view, special moment for the young player. I spoke about him earlier in this month, and I watched a few compilations. 'Cause I was intrigued, to see what this player's about, and he looks very, very talented. 6'5", um, very good in terms of both feet. He's got the ability of picking diagonal balls like Van Dijk. I'm not saying he's going to be like Van Dijk, but who knows? Very strong, very agile for a player of his build and height. Attacks the channels very well. Um, Powering centre back. So he has all the credentials to be a top centre back for years to come. Of course, with youth players, you have to bide your time. I think it's good that we've allowed him to remain at his current club, which is Austria Vienna. So he completes his season there, and then next season with some pre-season, we'll assess his situation. And look, if he's ready for the first team, he'll be a welcomed figure to the squad because we don't have too many options. But even if he's not in the first team for, at least we have him playing in the under 21s, learning the trade of playing English football, where it's going to be different to what he's played in Austria. And then once we feel like the time's right, we can slowly embed him into the first team. So for me, this is a signing for the future. From what I've seen, I've been very impressed. Of course, compilations will present one thing, but I feel like even watching compilations, you can still get an indication of what a player's about. And I feel like we've got a special talent here. So for me, I'm not going to use the word generational, but I do feel like we've got a player of huge potential that could be a first team player for years to come. So hopefully, we'll get to see him in action next season. So yeah, let's see what the future holds for Ifeanyi Ndukwe. Now, the final rumor today is regarding Jeremy Jacquet. So a player that we've mentioned before, Fabrizio Romano mentioned today that Liverpool are a number of clubs interested in signing Jacquet of Bronze. The 20-year-old has made 17 appearances in League One this season. So my question to you guys is he the right profile for Liverpool? I think he is. I think he's a very, very talented player. From what I've seen of him, he's very comfortable on the ball, uh, tall and sort of Langley in terms of his physique, but he's someone that can attack the channels very well. In the back three, back in the back four as well. So very versatile in that regards. He's a progressive defender as well in terms of he can carry the ball and take the ball forward. So for me, he's a player that we should definitely target. But there's also some strong rumors suggesting that Chelsea want to sign the player in the coming weeks. Maybe they're trying to get a deal as early as this current window. So we'll have to wait and see. But I do feel like he's a player of huge talent. Um, Early in the season, he was earmarked as a potential Konate replacement, which could be the case. Slightly different. I think Konate is a bit more powerful and has a more of a physical presence. This player is more of a technical defender. So let's see what happens. But I do like the player. Whether he's a target for the summer remains to be seen. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's go through the comments to give everyone a shout. Shout out to Bowl, uh, shout out to Daz, and shout out to Matthew. Appreciate you getting involved. I think it's the first time I've seen you in the live chat, Matthew. So big up yourself for getting involved. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to like and subscribe. In terms of upcoming shows, we'll be doing a match preview of uh actually I probably should have done it today. The match is tomorrow, Liverpool versus Carabank. So I may do a match preview early in the day tomorrow. If not, we'll just do a watch along straight away. And yeah, hopefully we get a result. And then we'll do a match reaction show tomorrow as well. And then on Thursday, we'll do a match preview of Liverpool versus Newcastle as well. So yeah, lots of shows coming up. So make sure to hit the notification bell so you know exactly what time I'll be going live. And that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and hope to speak with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.